Hey guys, Brent from Lynchburg Arms here. You probably heard by now from your favorite YouTube clickbaiter or from a number of posts on social media that the Hearing Protection Act was passed in the U.S. House as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill legislation that will be heading to the Senate. So there's a lot of stuff going around right now that's kind of just touching upon this at a surface level, and if you guys have spent any time at the shop or seen any of the other videos, you know one thing I hate is just surface level clickbait. So I just kind of wanted to do a quick little video, talk about where we're at, what this potentially means for the future, and what steps are left in this process before we potentially could see probably the biggest gun rights win in generations. The ramifications if the HPA does actually make it through, and if the Short Act gets included in the Senate, I mean, it'll be the biggest change, honestly, since the NFA was passed in the 30s. So we'll just dive into it real quick. You may remember last week during negotiations when the HPA was up for consideration in one of the budget groups that it was pretty neutered by one House Republican who had concerns about the wording of the HPA violating something called the Byrd Rule in the Senate. And because this bill is being considered under the reconciliation, I'm not going to go too deep into the civics classroom here, but it's not being voted on like a traditional bill in the Senate. So in the Senate, typically you would need 3/4 vote to pass something. That's why the filibuster is such a big deal, because if it can't get the votes to break a filibuster, if there's not pretty much a supermajority by one party, it won't pass. But they can still pass legislation that might not get the appropriate amount of votes through the reconciliation process. And because this is dealing with taxes, that's where the Byrd Rule comes into play. That was the excuse given. Personally, I think it was probably something to do with the $500,000 that Silencer Shop sent to preserve the NFA and pretty much lobby against the HPA, but that's another topic for another day. Anyways, gun owners really did step up, melted phone lines in Congress. They did reintroduce the original HPA language, which was removing suppressors from the NFA completely and making them subject to the requirements of the Gun Control Act. So that would be just a standard 4473 background check. That modification, I failed to mention, would have kept the NFA suppressors on the NFA registry, but have removed the payment of $200 and made it a $0 transfer. But again, you still have to do fingerprints, photograph, all that stuff. So last night, the Senate was able to go ahead and move the whole big, beautiful bill out, and now it's in the Senate's court. There's a lot of back and forth about whether that whole Byrd Rule thing will apply. Look, I just dabbled in politics when I was in college. I don't know how concerned we need to be. Personally, I think that is what's going to end up. There's a lot of things in this bill and a lot of things that are getting a lot more attention. If you check mainstream stuff, this isn't being mentioned at all. Not even in the slightest. They're talking about the implication or ramifications for Medicaid, the rollback of tax credits for climate change stuff. It's not even registering on the radar, which is a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because the antis probably aren't paying attention too much about it, but it's also a bad thing because it's an easy target for weak-kneed Republicans to change it back. So again, one of those things I've been saying is our elected officials do not have the spine, just like the judges do, to really touch the NFA. I think it's politically a third rail. They don't want to be the person known to legalize machine guns, or legalize hitman tools or anything like that. So I really do think that there is a good chance that the Byrd Rule will actually apply, and what we'll end up with is going to be the NFA. The suppressors are still in the NFA, but they're not going to cost anything extra. You're still going to have to go through all the standard stuff. I hope not. I would love to be able to sell these things over the counter with a regular 4473 NICS check. It would make the process so much easier. I think we have seen the trend in the past 4 or 5 years that suppressors are becoming in common use. I think the argument that these things are dangerous and unusual in any sort of way is really starting to lose traction when you have law enforcement able to argue that a suppressor is a tool for health and safety of the officer or agent, which is something that Huxworks is getting away with the ATF for supplying the ATF's TAC teams with their cans. ATF is saying they should get them for health and safety of their agents. Well, then how come your health and safety doesn't matter? So I really think that argument's starting to go the wayside, which is a great thing for us. I want to talk about the Short Act real quick. The Short Act was a companion piece to the HPA, the Hearing Protection Act, and that would remove short barrel rifles and shotguns from the NFA as well. The NFA, in its original incarnation, was designed to register handguns. A lot of people focus on gangster weapons, thinking it was Tommy guns it was really applying or trying to target. It was really all about handguns. At the last minute, the handguns were removed, but the SBR and SBS wording, and AOW warning, honestly, which was crafted to close any potential loophole for people to have handguns without them being registered, was never removed. So it's really holdover wording from a key component that was never implemented. The Short Act was not included with the HPA. It's a bummer, but there's still a chance for the Senate to pick it up. Now, this is where normally I would say contact your senator's office, demand politely, of course, that they, do the right way, vote to get keep the HPA included without making any modifications, so they're off the registry. But unfortunately for those of us in Virginia, that's useless. We have 2 of the most reliably anti-gun voting Democratic senators in the Senate right now. So it won't do much. Sorry, just being a realist. It's never done much when they've had high-profile gun votes before, no matter how loud and raucous we've been. Just look at the times where assault weapons bans were brought up during the Obama years, and during the even during the post-Parkland stuff too. So really, you have to kind of hope that the other Republicans will stay strong, and that some of the more gun-friendly Republican senators will, introduce the Short Act, and they'll be able to kind of use the focus on those other sticky points to make sure nothing has changed. Like I said, that's the thing that I'm worried about. They could use the fact that this is flying under the radar to either make a really good change or a not-so-great change that they will try to sell us as a really good change. So, where does that leave us right now? The same old. Unfortunately, we still got to do the same process if you want to buy a can. The Senate Majority Leader has put a deadline, self-imposed deadline, to have that bill ready for the President to sign by July 4th. So, we'll just have to wait and see if anything actually changes for the next month or month and a half, and see if we'll be handed a win for once. So stay tuned. I'll be watching it, doing videos. Like I said, we're not monetized, so I can't clickbait you, and we're not sponsored. So this isn't just going to be big victory. Yeah, it's great that it passed the House. This was always going to pass the House. That's the thing. The numbers were there. It was always going to pass the House. It's what the Senate is going to do. So we'll keep an eye on it and keep you guys updated. Thanks for watching today.